How is the story of Spy Family holding up 4 volumes into the series? I discuss this and more on today's episode. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today I want to talk about what you saw in the intro, a graphic novel that is about spies and families and assassins and such things. I'm referring to Volume 4 of Spy Family, which has a cool dog on the front cover, and this is by Tatsuya Endo, which was written in 2021. I've talked about Tatsuya Endo on this channel before, so I don't need to go into that great of detail. But for those who don't know, Endo is a Japanese writer, mostly writing mangas, and he's been writing mangas for the past 20 or so years. And there's not that many pictures of him out there, presumably because he values his privacy. And that's pretty much all I know about him. I've been exploring the Spy Family series, and I've enjoyed it somewhat, although I'm coming up to sort of a road bump with the series that I'll talk a little bit more about in the analysis section. But without further ado, let's talk about Volume 4. I will do a summary, a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. So Volume 4 picks up really where Volume 3 left off. After Anya wins a star from her school that'll help Loid get closer to the people he's supposed to target or protect or whatnot, Loid and Yor decide to buy their daughter a dog, which Anya is very excited about. What's interesting though is that Loid wants to pick a guard dog that has been trained by his agency as a means to protect the family, but also protect or help him fulfill some of his missions. But Anya can see into this, and so she's unhappy with the choices that have been presented in terms of dogs. So she just wants to go find other sort of animals. Meanwhile, a group of young terrorists have been plotting to disrupt a summit between the East and the West, and Loid has been called in to help stop these terrorists. And he, after disguising himself as one of their leaders, he finds out more about the group and works to take them down. And while that is going on, Anya is looking at other dogs with Yor, and she manages to find a super intelligent dog, which Loid later finds out was part of Project Apple, an experiment, a cruel experiment to see if you could instill intelligence in animals. And it turns out that this dog was made somewhat psychic. It could see the future, and Anya is able to see the future because she can read the minds of animals too, apparently. And so, as Anya is talking to the dog, she sees into the dog's mind and sees a future where a part of the city has exploded, presumably due to the terrorist, and Loid is hurt in the explosion. And so Anya wants to go and find Loid and prevent this from happening. Because Anya found this dog with the terrorist, Yor presumes the terrorist tried to kidnap Anya, and she beats up some of the terrorists, but one of the leaders, Keith, manages to get away. And so he realizes that he's being tailed by these agents, and so he leaves a bomb in an apartment complex for Loid, which is presumably the bomb that will kill him. But Anya makes it there first and writes a warning about a bomb on the door. And when Loid and his team get there, they're suspicious of it, but they decide not to go in and are saved, so the bomb doesn't explode. And then Loid and his team decide that they have to take down this Keith in order to prevent further destruction. Or prevent the peace from happening between the East and the West. So Loid disguises himself as Minister Brantz, one of the people involved in the summit, and Keith tries to angle his way into being Brance's driver, but Loid is like, oh no, I'll drive myself. But Keith follows him, and like Loid drives into a sort of secluded area where there aren't a lot of people, and a fight with Keith ensues. There's a car accident, and like Loid runs away in order to get rid of a dog that's been chasing him, that's strapped with a bomb. He manages to defuse the bomb, and Keith realizes that Minister Brance is actually an agent in disguise, and so he drives off. But Yor sees him and realizes that's the same terrorist as before, and she sort of just kicks the car and it crashes, which is very funny and also cool. And so Keith is captured, and Yor, Loid, and Anya all regroup together, not telling each other what happened, of course. And Anya pushes to let Loid keep the dog. Like, she wants to keep this dog, even though Loid is like, no, this dog it needs to be taken by the state because of reasons that he doesn't want to say. But the spy agency allows Anya to keep the dog when she throws a fit, and she tells everyone at school about it. And as the story comes to a close, Anya decides that because she likes the TV show Bondman, which is about a spy, she's going to name the dog Bond, and the dog seems to be happy with this family that is supportive, and that's where it ends there. In terms of analysis, there's a little bit worth talking about with Spy Family. I feel like this volume, while interesting and cool, it seems to be lacking a certain amount of substance, especially about the themes that were present earlier in the series. But like one of the ideas that Endo does talk about here is compassion towards animals, particularly like noting that even though these animals were experimented on, they still deserve love, and even though they were trained to do evil things, like it wasn't their fault that they got involved in human conflicts. And so Loid strives to remedy the situation by making sure the dog doesn't get hurt, even though it's attacking him. And that I think is like a skin the cat moment, where in fiction you show a good person like save animals to prove that they're good, although that would have been something you would have seen in volume 1. This is just more proof that Loid is a decent human being and on the side of good. And ultimately Endo is like, hey, compassion towards animals is a good thing, and bad people will often do bad things to animals. You can tell if someone's bad even before they do anything to a human in the way that they treat animals. So a very interesting idea that Endo presents here. As I mentioned earlier, there seems to be a lack of substance. There's a lot of cool action and cool art scenes, which you may have seen around this video, but it does lack deeper substance. There seem to be a lot of ideas presented in Volume 1 about spies and secrecy and a complicated family life, because Loid married someone who's an assassin, and his daughter is a mind reader, and you think all of that would come up, but that doesn't seem to be present here, and it seems to be dwindling as the series goes on. And it's possible, that like I expected more of this series, but it's aimed for the youth, it's aimed for children, and it's not meant to be any deeper than it actually is. But my argument would be, well, Endo presented all of that at the beginning of the series. He presented that there might be a conflict between these two. You would think that Anya and Loid, Yor and Loid would have more of a conflict, like they would come to like conflict because like Yor is an assassin hired by an agency, and Loid is a spy. You think their objectives would conflict, and that would bring tension and whatnot to the relationship, or even like not even them knowing about it, but there just being conflict about like their goals being not mutually compatible, and them just not realizing that it's each other who's kind of obstructing them. But that doesn't seem to be present here. And again, maybe I'm expecting something that this series just isn't willing to be. But again, that also seemed to be a little bit present in the beginning in volume 1, and Endo isn't really elaborating or extrapolating on these ideas. Anyway, those are my thoughts on volume 4 of Spy Family. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I am enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. But compared to stuff like Berserk, where it feels rich in themes, rich in story and development, here it just seems to be the same thing over and over and over. How many times can you repeat the same joke before it loses its luster? It hasn't happened yet, but my interest in the Spy Family series might dwindle if it continues down this path. And that might also be just a sign that this isn't for me. It's not bad. It's just I want something more out of my graphic novels, out of my comic books and manga. So maybe let that inform your decision if you decide to pursue it. Not even though like saying something isn't like Berserk is unfair, because only one thing is like Berserk, and that's Berserk. But those are just my thoughts there. If you've read this before, you have something to say in my or about my review, do so in the comments below. I would love to hear from you and have a discussion about this series. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that other people can find out about Spy Family or Tatsuya Endo if they don't already know. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and dog-getting travels. Farewell.